are not live yet. Huh? Please tell us when we are.
Can they see us?
No, not yet.
They can't see us. And they can't hear us. Sure.
Right. Good evening, good morning in some parts of the world, good afternoon possibly some places, and hopefully it's not too late in the night for many of you. Thank you for joining us, Aamir. It's a pleasure to be with you.
It's a pleasure.
I grew up singing Papa कहते हैं बड़ा नाम करेगा.
Right.
I think Dad would be very happy that I'm sitting in front of you at one point. So, but before we begin, I just wanted to share that the last 24 hours or so have been very difficult. We've been speaking to friends in Ahmedabad, in other places. We lost a lot of lives, and
Extremely tragic.
it's very, very tragic.
Extremely tragic.
So,
We tend, I mean, life is so unpredictable. I guess it's a very tragic thing that has happened. Yeah.
thoughts and prayers are with the families as we sit down together here, and may they find, may they
Peace.
the strength to go through this very difficult period. So, Aamir, I wanted to welcome you on behalf of all the IC3 community, the educators, the principals, the teachers. And I also wanted to welcome all the educators from all around the country and all around the world who are watching this.
Right.
And for years, we've been inspired by your work. So I want to actually, because we are educators, we like definitions.
Okay.
You defined machines in Three Idiots, so हम भी कुछ definition चाहते हैं. We want some definitions. Because you defined machines, so we will define also. So I thought we'll do two definitions today.
Okay.
First, I want to define you.
Okay.
तो आमिर खान का definition क्या है?
क्या है?
वो हम आपको बता रहे हैं. अभी हमने ये focus group किया और उसमें हमने कहा ये आमिर खान का what is the definition? So Aamir for us is richness. You bring so much richness to our lives as educators every day in the classroom. And Khan is not the Khan. हम तो वो खान, सोने की खान, कोयले की खान.
Oh, अच्छा.
तो हम ये 1 घंटा जो है, for this next 1 hour, we are going to mine you. You are, so there is richness and there is
A mine.
a mine. So we are in the process of mining. How do you feel about that now?
Well, how I feel, I must tell you, I feel very nervous because I was not very good at academics. And you just told me that there are hundreds of teachers listening to us. So I get very nervous of teachers and educators and all. मैं बहुत डर जाता हूँ. So I must say that I'm a person who was not really into academics from my childhood. And it's rather strange, but when I stopped my, what do I say, when I stopped college, which is like education, which is, what is the term I'm looking for? Organized education, or, when I moved away from what is called formal education after my 12th standard, that's when I actually started educating myself on my own about things that interested me, and I started reading up and also digging, like we dig in a khan, as you were saying. Yeah, so I did my own digging about things that I wanted to learn about. Yeah.
And
after my formal education got over.
And I want to come back to that, your
Sure.
school period and that transition.
Sure.
But that makes two of us, because I was an outstanding student in school, always standing outside the class. And the principal used to pass bahar se. And aaj bhi bahar,
Sounds like me.
And you remember when we used to walk, principal's cabin used to come, we used to jump thoda sa,
Jaldi.
so that you are not seen.
By the principal.
And when school used to shut down, बहुत मजा आता था. Did you like it also when
I think
school shut down?
when we used to suddenly get a holiday, ना,
हाँ.
कि बहुत ज़्यादा बारिश हो गई है, या for some odd reason sometimes, suddenly, unexpectedly, there is a holiday. Those were my favorite days.
The last bell, do you remember? Last bell.
Last bell,
आपके स्कूल में bell बजती
Yeah,
थी.
yeah.
And I used to look बाहर कि कब आएगा वो bell बजाने वाला कि
टंग
ये
टंग 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 छूट गया स्कूल.
school खत्म. And I will be honest, even if someone died and school used to shut down, बचपन में क्या समझ आता था, खुशी होती थी. हमें क्या पता
As
था?
kids, we used to not realize.
We
Yeah.
didn't realize it. And at a time when young people should really be wanting to go and learn,
Yeah.
so something happened there, and then you actually showed us through cinema why that may have happened. But
Did I? I mean, I don't know. I'm not aware. You're more aware with looking at my work, I guess.
I think
Tell me.
Ishan Awasthi ki story and why school became the most traumatic place. But please,
I used to identify a lot with Ishan in that script because I was a student who. So I'll tell you about my student life. I was a fairly bright guy, but I was really into sports. I was not really into academics. And when I look back and I think back about it, I realized that there were certain teachers who I was interested in whose class I would focus because it was their style of teaching or their ability to connect with me was stronger, which is why I would end up doing well in one or two subjects because I used to just listen to that teacher, you know. So that has also happened. So when I look back and think about it, I think it was because at that time, I'm talking of the 70s, teaching or education was very, it was very strict, it was very heavy, it was like a boj. You know, there's a weight on you as a student. It wasn't freeing, it wasn't happy. You know, today my son Azad goes to a school called Ascend where, you know, they look at education quite differently. And you know, so I'm glad that the outlook towards education is over the years has been changing, and education should really be something that kids enjoy and really have fun while learning. Yeah.
do you have some memories from those school days?
Yeah,
There's that
many.
teacher that you remember from your school
Kona
days?
teacher. Kona teacher in St. Anne's School. In St. Anne's School, we had a teacher, Kona teacher, who taught us math, if I'm not mistaken. And she also taught us one other subject. I can't remember which one. But her lectures were the ones that I used to listen to because the way she conducted her class, you know, you kind of got involved in what she was teaching. Yeah. So I was not one of the kids who came first or second or all of that. I used to somewhere in the middle. But I wasn't really interested in academics or education because I found it very boring. I found it tedious, and homework was, you know, something I hated doing.
And did you have any kind of counseling or guidance,
No.
systemic guidance, counseling?
No.
Never. Did you miss it? Did you feel like you had questions that you wanted answers to while you were growing up and you couldn't really find people to get
Well,
up?
I guess so, because I mean, at that time we didn't even have a concept of a counselor in school. When I was in school, it was an alien concept. So actually, in many ways, if you ask me, my biggest teacher has been my mother. Ammi has been my main teacher of life. You know, so she's the one who was, and she's also a very sensitive person, someone who has a very rare ability, a rare intelligence. I feel that's a rare intelligence, and that is the intelligence of caring and understanding what the people in a room are feeling, and she can immediately sense if someone's feeling bad or someone's uncomfortable. So her abilities to make people comfortable, make people happy is something I've learned from her.
And it's her birthday today.
It's her birthday. She turns 91 today.
So happy birthday to Ami from all of us.
Yeah.
And our parents not just give us the gift of life, but also so much wisdom that we accumulate.
Well, I guess that they are primary teachers. Yes. You know, our parents are our primary teachers, which is why I also feel that as we become young parents, like when I became a parent, you know, we are not taught how to bring up children also. And that is a very important stage. You know, when I started doing therapy, I realized that your years from 0 to 10 are the most important formative years. and the kind of things you absorb and experience in those 10 years are essentially what shape you as a person. So I think needs to be a lot of intervention in even helping young parents, in parenting. Yeah.
Absolutely. While reproduction is
Also, the problem is is so confusing. I remember when Junaid was born, and then again when Ira and Azad were born, I had major discussions with both my wives. First, Reena, we were married for 16 years, we had 2 children together. And I think at that time there was this Western concept that, you make the child sleep away in the next room. Yeah.
yeah.
So I was like, there's no way my child is sleeping away from me.
Absolutely.
The child has to be sleeping with me, that whole, and I think that is so important. I believe there's a theory that children should be put aside in the next room at young ages, and even if they cry, they have to learn to live alone and all of that. I think that's rather, instinctively I feel I don't know how good that is for the child.
Well,
Because when you're growing up, the child needs to feel protected. The child needs to feel that my parents are there right around me. And especially when it's dark, you're all alone in the room, you look to your parents to look after you. And if at that time your parent is saying, no, you stay alone in this dark room, it can be quite, nerve-wracking.
No, absolutely agree. I think the child needs physical presence, parenting. Touch is so important. And while reproduction is a biological process, there's no university for parenting.
Very important.
So we are all victims of victims, actually.
Yeah.
All parents are victims of.
All parents are, trying their best.
Absolutely.
They're trying their best, whatever they understand best for their child, they're doing. But they really haven't been, taught how to, the basics, I would say, of good parenting.
And then whatever.
So all of us make mistakes and learn.
Absolutely. And whatever traumas happen, they happen at home partially, but also then in school with some of the interactions. But I wanted to, before we move on, Aamir, do the second definition.
Oh, okay.
Which was, so we defined you, or we defined your name, but I wanted to also define counseling, because our whole community here is about counseling, and this is a grossly underestimated, misunderstood subject. Counseling is really not about just finding a college or a career or choosing subjects or completing subjects. For us, counseling is about finding purpose and meaning in everyday school life. Counseling is about context. It's about the why. And so one of the things that we are doing as a community at IC3 is we are redefining counseling.
Right.
Counseling is like air and water that permeates everything in school. Every day is a counseling day. Every school assembly is a counseling opportunity. Every sports day is a counseling day. Every geography class is a counseling class. So the lack of guidance is detrimental. And like you shared, a student doesn't love or hate his subject, but loves or hates the teacher. You loved Kona teacher. I loved Molly teacher. And I became a math teacher because I loved my math teacher. So what was this period for you as you were transitioning from school? There's all of this conformity and compliance, and there is a path that everybody around you was taking, which was going from school, from high school to university.
College, graduation,
but then you...
No, I didn't. I broke away. So I was around 15 or 16 when I made up my mind that, 16 I think, it was after my 10th standard exams. I happened to do a film. A friend of mine, Aditya Bhattacharya, he was my classmate, and he was also Basuda's son, who was a filmmaker. So Aditya wanted to make a short film, like a student film, and he wanted me to help him make the film, and we were friends. So I said, yes, I'll help you. And so after the board exams, the holidays that we had after that, before you join college, that's the 1 month in which we kind of shot the film. And the experience of being part of storytelling, of attempting to try and put a scene together, of attempting to try and convey something. That whole process of 1 month, you know, all the hard work we put in trying to get a film together. It was a short 30, 40-minute film. But that experience is what taught me, or rather, I wouldn't say taught me, what made me realize that this is my life, this is where I'm happy, this is where I want to be, on a film set, trying to tell a story, trying to be part of a team that tells a story. I understood that in that one experience, कि ये मेरी life है. And once that happened, I wanted to move towards that. I wanted to learn about filmmaking, and my parents, I belong to a filmmaking family. My father was a producer, my uncle was a filmmaker, director, producer. So I grew up with films being made around me. But we were kept away from cinema and films. And we were always told that this is a profession you're not entering. Yeah, so you better. So my parents thought I'm going to become or hoped rather, that I would become an engineer or a doctor or a chartered accountant, which is what most parents wanted their kids to become at that time. Doctor, engineer, chartered accountant, MBA or something, you know. They wanted me to be in a field which was less volatile. The films are considered a very volatile field, a profession. Because here, this is one of the few professions, by the way, where your hard work, your aptitude, you know, all the qualities we consider great, you know, someone who's passionate, someone who's hardworking, someone who doesn't give up, someone who's, all of these, even talent. This is the one profession in which all of these great qualities may not be directly proportionate to your success. See, if you're a sports person, if your hand-eye coordination is good, it's likely that you'll do. And if you're hardworking, plus you're a team player, plus you apply yourself, you know, you're on the nets 5 hours a day, 8 hours a day, then the chances of you not doing well are very low. But in the film industry, you'll find yourself looking at actors who do amazing work. But they don't have one-tenth the success that somebody else has, who's not as hardworking, who's rude, who's not as talented also. So this is one profession which is very volatile.
I have to tell you that teachers relentlessly love and take care and teach children quietly in their classrooms all around the world.
Yeah.
But their bank balances don't reflect that. The name and fame doesn't come.
Yeah.
They are often forgotten.
Teaching is a profession which is not
very
given.
similar.
Well, I won't say similar. It's not volatile at least, na. इसमें आप volatile हो.
अच्छा.
एक film आपकी चली, you're the top of the world. Next film hasn't done well, nobody's bothered about you. It's a very volatile business. Usually actors don't last beyond 7 years. That's the average, you know, lifespan of an actor.
Did you?
So I was told repeatedly by people at that time, my parents, my elders in the family, my friends, my cousins, everyone my age, everyone felt that I'm making a huge mistake by quitting studies. But I kept telling them that I'm not quitting studies. I'm actually starting studies. I'm not quitting education. I'm starting my education because now that I've understood where my interest lies, I want to move towards that. I don't want to do another 3 years of something else. You know, if I want to be a doctor, I should be studying medicine, not engineering. You know, so the moment I knew that this is where my life is, then I wanted to move towards it without wasting any time. So I kept telling my parents and everyone, I'm not quitting my education. Far from it. I'm starting my education. Please understand. They didn't. They were dead against it. But then after I started working as an AD and they saw how I was working and then they saw the passion with which I was approaching the work and then they kind of understood that maybe he's done the right thing for himself. Yeah.
It would have taken some courage at that time, or you were fearless to make that choice?
So that's a difficult question to answer. There was fear also and then there was fearlessness also. I was very fearful of my father because he was a very tough man and he very short-tempered and he could, you know, fly off the handle. So I was fearful of him. So there was fear, but not towards the life I was looking forward to. the insecurities of that life didn't cause me fear. Rather, I was excited about what I wanted to learn in this new field. And I was, wondering why people are holding me back. You know? Yeah.
And that's a everyday struggle in households, in all our schools, what do I choose? Where do I go? What do I study? Should I study further? What should I study? And that struggle, and the reason why you could be inspiring through some of those actions is you experienced something in school which was outside the classroom. It was not in the classroom setup. And then you kind of found the courage to continue to pursue it. And today, I think if there is one filmmaker, this genre of films that you've made, a host of them are actually solutions for a lot of educators. And we had those conversations with educators. And they said, from Dangal to Lagan to Sitare Zameen Par to
Three Idiots.
3 Idiots. 3 Idiots was an absolute game changer in many ways, and so was Sitare Zameen Par.
That's right.
So I wanted to, just bring another idea from IC3 here, which is the idea of academics in fun and fun in academics. What we found is, through our research, is that the kid who gets bored in school gets bored in life.
Yeah.
That disengaged, grumpy 35-year-old on Monday morning is nothing but the bored kid in school. Agar you want engaged people at work,
then you have to have engaged kids.
Happy people.
Yeah.
Because we're wondering, why are people so sad?
Yeah.
Because they become sad in school and they are asked to comply. And I taught math, but I taught math by wrapping it around, and that's what we do at the IC3 Institute. We teach them how to teach effectively. So I wrapped it around football. You kick that ball, that's a parabola. You want to teach geometry angles, you are on the football field. You don't need to go to the math class to teach math.
Correct.
Academics in fun and fun in academics.
That's so important, That's why I liked some teachers who we like. It's because I've always felt actually that filmmakers and storytellers have to be good communicators. And so do teachers, because that's what teachers are doing, communicators. We run a non-profit company called Pani Foundation, where we have a lot of training that is involved. And that is an extremely important part of the work that we do. And right from the very start, we had decided that any training that we are giving farmers, people who are in the field needing to learn this, has to be fun and games. The moment I sit down and give you a lecture, then I've lost you. I've really lost you. You have to make a story around it. You have to get those 30 people in front of you hooked in, excited. And there is a way to hook you in. There's a way to tell a story that I get your attention. I get your emotional investment. I get your intellectual investment. There's a way to do that, And that is what actually we are taught in film schools. I mean, I've not been to a film school, but that is what is taught in film schools. My film school was home because I saw films being made around me. My father and uncle were both filmmakers. So I didn't have to be taught how to make a film. I learned like a Gurukul style, without even knowing that this is where I'm going to end up. I didn't know at that time. So I feel that when education is fun, then you don't have to tell the child anything. The child is himself or herself connected to you and wants to learn. And actually, one of the biggest things that you really need to do, I feel, is spark a curiosity. Sparking curiosity is very important, I think, when you're trying to teach something.
And you did it in Sitare Zameen Par. When you went into the class, you actually started to narrate the story of Albert Einstein.
Correct.
And Ishan was looking at you, and he's pointing to me.
He's talking about me.
He's talking about me, but you were actually talking about Albert Einstein.
Albert Einstein.
And it was also almost like he had a sense of relief. Arey, mere bare mein nahi bol rahe,
Mere
you know,
bare mein nahi bola.
He could continue to hide.
Yeah.
But how you were bringing
Cleverly planting it and making him realize without addressing him even once.
And so many of our kids in our classrooms, Aamir, are hidden. They are not seen. Because we glamorize the superstar. We glamorize the superstar. We actually marinate in the success of a few.
Correct.
As schools, we are guilty of that. And I know many
guilty
principals who tell me, Ganesh, yes, we need to be more inclusive.
Yeah.
But wo aapka wo
Actually, the student who needs the teacher the most is the one who's the weakest, who needs little help. In my time, teachers, you would focus only on the guys who came first to fifth. The toppers were given, and the speed of teaching was based on how quickly the toppers are absorbing. Because if the toppers have got it, the class moves on, and you're left behind wondering, what was that? I missed something. Because to samajh mein nahi aaya.
Bilkul.
But the class has gone ahead, and you're just lost. And the more lost you get, the more you feel that, you know, this is not for me. This doesn't make any sense to me, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that you're very right. Teaching has to be something which is very fun and exciting. And that's when most of the kids connect with you.
And the stories, like you said, every teacher also has to be a storyteller.
Yeah, I strongly believe that.
I think even math, I taught math by telling the story.
Yeah, I can understand.
So it's beautiful. And Aamir, that brings me to the next idea that we have at IC3, which is, who are you being versus what are you doing? I think what struck me so much about your movies was that you were not just playing a role, you were being someone. You know, when I was doing some preparation for our interaction today, I realized that you stepped into, you became that person. And you have used your very famous dialogue from Three Idiots, कि काबिल बनो, become capable. So it's always been
Actually,
about
the
being.
dialogue is, chase excellence.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us are chasing success, you know. You want to chase success. But if you chase excellence, and then success comes with it, you know. That's the core belief of that film, Three Idiots. Do what you enjoy doing, and have value for that. Because what you're doing, what makes you happy is what you should do. And when you're doing something that makes you happy, you want to do it well, you feel like doing it well, you care about it, you know. So I think that's also another very important thing. Sometimes we compare and say, like some kids like dancing. But in school, for us, dancing is कि यार वो साल में एक दफा होता है, annual day, उस दिन dance करना भाई, अभी तुम maths पे ध्यान दो.
Yeah.
So actually, when I was doing Sitare Zameen Par, I learned a lot. I realized a lot of this. See, I must tell you that I'm not a teacher, nor am I an educator, none of that.
Yeah.
But when I do a film, I try and immerse myself into that field, and then I start picking up and learning. Like when I did Sarfarosh, I learned a lot about policing. So when I did Sitare Zameen Par, I learned a lot about children, education. I understood a lot of things. Spending time with teachers, spending time with special educators, understanding from them what this whole world is like, you know. It's sorry, what were you saying a little earlier before this?
I said who you were being was so important, you know.
Yeah.
One of the bigger draws for me was not just what Aamir Khan was doing, but who he was being. He was being a spectacular human. And those roles were very, very important. They were very deep from a teaching, academic perspective. So, like I said, I went from that, you know, you were the heartthrob to more and more meaning in your films, from Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak, and then to all of this genre of films. And, you know, now with what you have coming with Sitare Zameen Par, there's so much substance and meaning. And I think I always asked myself, who am I being in the classroom today?
Right.
Am I being present? Am I being, you know, am I being empathetic?
Sure.
And am I seeing everybody that is in the classroom?
Yeah.
So I think otherwise I just have, what I have to do is teach the math that I have to teach.
Right. Yeah,
but
yeah,
but
yeah.
who I be is so important.
So important, yeah. You know, while you were speaking, I suddenly remember this very important incident in my life. I don't think I've spoken about it anywhere. It just suddenly came to me, you know.
Yeah.
I used to play a lot of tennis. I used to play 4-5 hours of tennis a day.
Yeah.
I was very into tennis. And I must have been 13 or 14 years old. 8th standard, 9th standard, somewhere there I was. Maybe even 12, 13. So I used to walk back home from Khana, which is a 10-minute walk from my house. So one day I was walking back from Khana, it was evening time, and a small kid came to me. You must understand that I myself was a kid.
Yeah.
I was 12, 13 years old. And the kid was probably 8, 9 years old. You know, he was like 4, 5 years younger than me. And he stopped me on the road and he said, "Aap meri help kar sakte hain?" Remember, there's a 8 to 9-year-old kid talking to a 12 to 13-year-old kid. And we are both strangers. I had a tennis racket in my hand. He came to me and said, "Can you help me?" So I said, "Kya hua?" He said, "Mera report card sign kar sakte hain?" And then I realized what he wanted me to do. He had failed in many subjects. And you're supposed to, the parents have to sign the report card. So he was, and I can remember his face, he was so white. You know, I mean, when I say white, I mean not fair-skinned. I mean, he was so stressed. He was so stressed that he had probably, now I don't remember all this so clearly, but I know he had not done well. And he couldn't take that report card to his parents. He was so frightened. His face was looking, you know. And I also was small, you know. And he came to me and said, "Yeah, aap sign kar sakte hain." And I realized that he can't go to his parents and he's, you know. And I remember, I can't remember now whether I signed it or I didn't. It's so long back. But I remember his expression of his face, he was so frightened. It was like he was seeing death in front of him. And education cannot be like that. Yeah. You can't make a child so frightened that, you know, also you dishearten a child. Yeah. At the end of the day, you know, for example, in the film I'm currently doing, it's about intellectual disabilities. And I so strongly feel that we must have inclusive education. We must have children with different challenges studying together. Maybe their pace is different, but that doesn't matter. At the end of the day, after going through school, how many times have I ever used a plus b the whole square is equal to what? I haven't used it till today. But so if there is another child who perhaps is, you know, struggling with Down syndrome and he can't catch up with the class, ठीक है, उसमें क्या है, हर आदमी की स्पीड अलग होती है. बट जो पहले 15 साल होते हैं हमारी जिंदगी के, the first 15 years of our life ought to be the most magical, ought to be the most happy, you know, where you grow up learning different things or not learning, it's okay. But, you know, we crush a child's self-respect. You know, I remember I was having a conversation with 3-4 experts, you know, during Sitare Zameen Par, and I asked them, what is the most important thing that a child needs, you know, any child? And this expert told me that a child needs security, child needs trust and faith, child needs dignity. Self-respect and dignity. And then love comes after that. So I said, why do you say love comes after that? He said, you know, as a parent or a teacher, you can be very loving to your children, but you can be disrespectful to them at the same time. When a child does something that you're not happy with, the way you talk to that child, as if that child is a criminal who's been made to stand in a court of law and who's spoken to so badly that that person's my entire self-respect is shattered after that as an 8-year-old. The way you talk to me. But if you say the same thing to me with love, then my whole reaction is different. You're not damaging my, you know, what I feel for myself. You know, so okay, I've done something wrong, something I shouldn't have done. But if you treat me like a criminal and someone who ought to be kept aside, go and stand in the corner. You know, so how you interact with a child is very, very important. It's very important not to break. In fact, I would even go so far as to say that, you know, there is some rebellion in all of us, in children as they're growing up. You must not crush that rebellion.
Absolutely.
I don't think you should crush that rebellion. Because that's the spirit of the child. Yeah. Once you break it, again and again, you break that, then you have a broken person growing up. You know, there is a lot of time for children to learn things as they grow older, and everyone learns on their own. There's no problem. But how we treat the person, you have to treat people with. So since then, these 4 things I apply to all my relationships. Because when he told me that these 4 things are important, security, you must feel secure. The child should always feel secure. तुम शैतानी करोगे मैं बोर्डिंग में भेज दूंगा. You know, the child should feel secure. The child should not feel that if I'm not good enough, I will be discarded. No, you will never be discarded. You are always good enough. It doesn't matter whether you get 0 on 10 or 10 on 10, you are still good enough. So that is a very important communication, I feel, that all of us need. Forget children. I need it. So when that expert told me that children need these 4 things, what is it? Security, honesty and trust, self-respect and dignity, and love. So I said, no, not just children, I also need that.
Yeah.
Just think about it. I also need security. I need trust and faith. I should be able to trust people. People should be able to have faith and trust in me. I should never break that trust. And we often break that trust with our children. We let them down many times. So we teach them something else altogether.
Yeah.
And then if something goes wrong, I'm still treated with dignity. You know, that's so important. So he was saying that वो love हम दे सकते हैं. Love तो देना बहुत आसान है. All fathers come and hug their children, but then they slap them and say, ये क्या कोई तरीका करने का? That love is like a dessert after a good meal. But the actual meal, which the child really needs, is security, is dignity, is trust and faith, is self-respect. These are the things that a child really needs. And when you give a child all these things, they actually bloom, you know, you can see them blooming.
You know, this is music to our ears, and I think for all our educator friends here, that every word spoken is having an impact in every classroom. It's either making or breaking that child.
Yeah.
And
you know, teaching is such an important profession. I've always believed that, and I've said it earlier also, that teachers should be the highest paid professionals in the country, in any society.
Yeah.
It should be the most important job. It should be the job that most people want. And it should be a job that only the best get. If you know what I'm trying to say. Because you see, if you have a bad engineer, you can affect 100, 200 people.
Yeah.
But if you have a bad teacher, that bad teacher can destroy generation after generation after generation.
Absolutely.
So teaching is such an important profession, you know. And I think that, you know, in an ideal world, since we are discussing this, I would really like to see, I mean, I would imagine myself to be a teacher when I'm sitting in a classroom. I would quickly like to identify the child who's having the most amount of trouble. And that's the child I want to connect with. Because the ones who are smarter are in any case managing. It's the children, or not just one child. It's the children who need a little help. See, all of us have multiple intelligence. Not all of us are good in reading and writing. For example, my mother has not been to a school, but she's my biggest teacher. She did homeschooling because her father didn't allow her to leave the house. उस ज़माने की बात कर रहा हूँ. लड़कियाँ स्कूल नहीं जाएंगी, तो घर पे टीचर आता था. Then her 10th standard exam she gave in open something. There's a open school thingy.
Yeah, National Open School.
Yeah, that's what she gave to pass her 10th standard exams. So I think that, you know, being a person with a lot of sensitivity and empathy, pretty much how Nikum sir is in Sitare Zameen Par, you know. For me, he's an ideal teacher. I'm not saying it because I played the role, but I'm saying remove Aamir Khan from it. Just look at Nikum, the character of Nikum. He's the ideal teacher. He's wise, he's sensitive, he knows what's happening in class, he knows which child is having trouble. He knows how to help the child without making the child feel that I'm helping him also. You know, in a very gentle way, bolstering the confidence of the child, making the child feel he can do anything. You know, these are the qualities I think which ideally should be there in a classroom.
Aamir,
Which I didn't have when I was a kid, I have to say. Mostly. See, I don't want to blame my teachers also. To be very honest, all my teachers, they were also trying their best.
Absolutely.
They didn't know any better. It was a long time ago, you know. I mean, I'm 60 now, so that was clearly 50 years ago when I was in school. It's a long time, half a century. So things have changed a lot, and I'm glad that, you know, people like you and all the other special educators today who joined us, you know, I'm so glad that things are moving ahead and things are changing and getting better for kids.
You know, I feel like we just have to keep going on because I'm just loving listening to you, and I think there's so much wisdom coming through. But also, the one thing that struck me is that we haven't cared for our teachers as much as, you know, we glamorize so many other professions.
Not teaching.
Counseling, teaching, guiding young people.
So important.
At the most critical point in their life. So counseling and teaching never got its due.
You're right.
And one of the things we've done in the last 9 years is to say that, look, these are nation builders. These are people who will shape our future.
Correct.
The teacher makes the doctor, the teacher makes the engineer, the teacher makes the pilot. And so it is so important to honor our teachers.
Absolutely.
And to care for them. And I think I know that there are many questions. Aamir, there are over several hundred questions, and I'm told I've been given signals that we are running out of time.
You know, it's my mother's birthday, so I've promised her I'll be there. So that's the only thing.
So I'm going to go straight on to the questions.
Let's do that.
And you know, we'll pull in some colleagues who will be... so I'm going to...
I don't think they know that. We can actually see a lot of faces on the screen in front.
Yes.
They are aware of that?
Yeah, they can see us as well.
See us.
And, you know, we are on that little tile and we'll spotlight them.
Yeah.
You can say
I'm
hi.
so happy to see all of you here. Amazing. Really amazing.
Yeah.
You know, I really want to say that there's somebody who wants to be admitted. You'll admit? Huh?
Yeah.
So, it's so wonderful that, you know, the work that you all are doing, so important. And teaching, in my opinion, is certainly one of the... is the most important profession in any society. That is what I have always believed. I think since Sitare Zameen Par, because that's the first time I actually came into this world of, you know, education, special education, understanding that, you know, kids have different requirements, kids have different challenges. So that's when I kind of understood this world a little bit more. And that's when I realized that, you know, teaching is the most important profession.
So we're going to try and take as many questions as we can. Is Manu Sharma here from the Indian school Borshar in Oman? Do you want to bring Manu on? I saw you had a question. Yes, Manuji, please go ahead.
Thank you, Ganesh sir, for giving me this
You know, things have moved so far. See, I think that, you know, things have moved a lot. When I was in school and at that time, there were only 3-4 professions that most parents wanted us to be in. Engineering, chartered accountancy, and doctor. You know, there were 2-3 professions like that which almost all parents wanted their children to become that. But the fact is that society is made up of so many different aspects of life, and we need all those various aspects. And I think in today's times, the world has opened up, you know. So I feel that, ideally speaking, in the first 10 years of education, from the first to the 10th, it should be irrelevant what the child wants to become.
Yeah.
It should be totally irrelevant. आपको engineer बनना है, आपको क्या बनना है, वो relevant ही नहीं होना चाहिए. You should just try and make sure that the child is happy, confident, is his or her ability to look at something new and then find, you know, be curious about it and find your way through it.
Yeah.
If you get kids to learn that, then when they decide, because each one of us decides at a different point in time what we want to do in life. Not all of us is as lucky as me that at 16 I had decided what I want to be. Sometimes we need a longer time. Sometimes in the middle of our lives we realize, yeah, this is my passion. Now I've understood what I want to do. Okay. So my point is that if you know, teach children to be curious, teach children to adapt, and be themselves. Actually, that's the most important thing. If you can encourage a child to be authentic, then that child will find his or her way.
And let them experience, like you experienced.
And let them experience.
Being, you know, what a film was and what it meant to be there. You know,
Yeah,
that one
yeah.
month that you spent.
Yeah.
I once met a 26-year-old dentist who told me, I'm fed up of looking at ugly teeth for 5 years. बोला कि तुमने अगर 11वीं में, if you had in 11th grade लोगों के मुंह में झांक लिया होता, if you had seen inside people's mouth, you would have realized that maybe this is not what I want to do. You know, that I want to become a doctor. I spent 5 years trying to become a doctor. I see the first dead body and I see blood and whatever else.
I can't handle it.
I can't handle it. I vomit. I leave medical school. I spent my whole childhood trying to become a doctor. So I think so beautiful what you are saying, and I think it's so relevant that you've got to get people to experience it, taste it, and you tasted it.
I got to taste it.
And then
I got to taste
it worked out.
So I think that, you know, unfortunately as parents also, and not so much as teachers, but more so as parents, I think we want our children to do what perhaps we would have liked to have done, which we were unable to do. कि मैं ये नहीं कर पाया, जैसे कि दंगल में वो बोलता ना, हमारा बेटा गोल्ड मेडल लेके आएगा, because Mahavir has got this thing in him that I couldn't win a gold for India. So we want to live through our children, which is not a nice thing. Which is not a nice thing. I think that children should be allowed to be themselves. And as teachers, if we can just encourage them to be themselves. And the fact is that right now in the world, the way the world is going ahead, we need all kinds of people. You know, you need people who are good in reading and writing. You need people who are good mathematically. But you also need people who have a great sense of music, who have a great sense of fun, who are great dancers. You know, earlier I was saying that if a child wants to dance, then he's told that once in a year I dance karo. But that's my passion. Allow me to do that. You know, we are quite restrictive. We are restrictive, I feel. I think school should be a place to explore. Where a child can grow up exploring what he or she enjoys and loves doing. You know, all of us have different brains. Our brains are wired differently. We all have different emotions and different passions. You know?
Yeah.
So what is naturally coming to you as a child should be encouraged, I feel.
And I think, Aamir, that's where, from our perspective at IC3, one of the things that we've been focusing on is context, purpose, experience, counseling, finding your own unique path, finding competence, beyond competition towards competence. Marrying the competition with the competence. Competence is inside And I think
Yeah.
that's so beautiful. But I want to take some more questions real quickly. And if
Okay,
you allow
okay.
me, I'm going to go on. Dr. Jyoti Gupta is joined us from KR Mangalam School in Delhi. And she's joined with a lot of her teachers.
Yes.
Dr. Gupta, please, your question for Aamir.
How we have tackled it in the film that you will see once you see the film. So let me not talk about that. Well, in a sense, so I must just point out that in Sitare Zameen Par, the 10 people with neurodivergence are not children. They're all adults. They're all, upward of 18, up until between 18 and 45, different age groups, 10 of them. So they're not children. They're adults actually. And the best part is that in this case, it is these 10 students who I'm trying to teach basketball to. By the end of the film, I realized they are my teachers. I thought I was their teacher. But it is a self-realization that occurs to me by the end of the film कि actually ये 10 लोगों ने मुझे सिखाया है. मुझे लग रहा था मैं इनको सिखा रहा हूँ. So in our case, it's a slightly different take on it, where the teacher is taught actually. And it's because, my character of Gulshan is exactly the opposite of Nikum. Nikum was sensitive, he was a very wonderful teacher and, very soft and nice to deal with. Gulshan, the character I'm playing in this film, is completely obnoxious. He's politically incorrect all of the time. He's very badly behaved. He's rude. He's fighting with his wife. He fights with his mother. He fights with his head coach. He constantly feels he is right. The whole world is wrong. He thinks मैं ही सही हूँ हमेशा. So it's actually, you see this person, if I might say, which is an average person, all around us in the world, is pretty much like Gulshan. There are a lot of Gulshans around us. So it's actually Gulshan's journey of realizing that, I was wrong. So that's what this film is really about. Yeah.
So, I have to say that I had the good fortune of
you've
being
seen
one
the
of
film?
those who saw the pre-screening.
Yeah,
and,
Ganesh has seen this.
And it was, I was moved beyond words. I would say that, coming in, and I knew it was going to be special, and it turned out to be exactly that. And it was thoughtful. Every situation, there was so much for us to learn. And what Dr. Gupta just shared, that as educators, your work is actually pushing us. It's like the moment where things change. So it's not just the problem, but the solutions that happen because of the cinema that you are doing. That's really getting everybody excited.
No, Jyoti ji, that's her name, right? Jyoti ji. I think one thing I also want to add, Jyoti ji, is that, as people, we learn from many places, So I think a lot of whatever I am today is firstly because of my mother. She's been my biggest teacher. Because of my family and people in my family who I've learned from. Teachers have been a very important influence on me. But one other thing that we forget is the books that we read, the films that we watch, the poems that we listen to, the music that we listen to. All of this finally, it's like building blocks, you know. You hear a song which touches you deeply, which suddenly makes sense to you. And that teaches you a lot. Sometimes a poet says things in 2 lines which makes you think for 2 days. And you realize, wow, I had never thought of this. So actually, we are who we are because of a lot of influences on us. You know, I started reading at a very young age. And I think that has been a big contributor in my life. I was 5 or 6 when I read my first book. And since then, I have just been reading. I took to reading like, you know, fish takes to water types. So I was like reading all the time. And I remember, you know, Ammi used to keep saying, "Ke khane ke waqt to book chodo bhai. At least stop reading when you're eating." You know, she used to constantly scold me that you're reading all the time. At least stop while we're on the dining table. Put your book away. So, you know, I think that you're so right, Jyoti ji, that, you know, popular culture can, if it so chooses, can have a deep impact on learning in kids, if we so choose to.
Yeah. And our kids are not reading anywhere close to what was happening, and you know, they're just watching and listening.
I'm so worried about this. Now you have to tell kids, keep the phone aside.
Yeah.
You know, that's something that I have, it's...
But why your reading journey is so important. I was very poor at reading as well until much later in my life when I started to read as an adult at 30, 35. But I know we are completely running out of time. Unfortunately, we have... No,
it's already 6?
Yeah.
Itna jaldi?
It's been... We can go on for another hour, but today is a birthday. And I know that I wanted to bring us to a close. So just a couple of closing pieces. And we want, you know...
you want to take one more question?
One more question. Is that all right?
I'll push it by 15 minutes,
Okay, this is good. We have 15 more minutes with Aamir Khan, folks. And
I wish we had longer, because I'm seeing all these amazing faces on the screen and I feel that 1 hour is too little. We should have kept 3-4 hours for this year.
Has Afreen Sheikhs joined us from the Euro School in Kharadi, Pune? Can you bring on Afreen? Okay.
Or someone else?
Yeah. Well, 2, 3. Okay, Neha Bahal from the IC3 Institute. They actually train teachers and counselors, and she has a question. Neha, you want to come on?
Yeah, there's Neha. Hi, Neha. So, you know, I'll say 2 things. One, I think first I'll talk about from the parents and teachers' point of view. You know, I feel that life has got so many challenges. We ourselves are going through so much in our own lives that often we are not able to look at our child even properly. And when I'm saying child or children, your own child or as a teacher or your child in the class, we look at faces, you know. I think we have to go one step further and look at their eyes. Don't stop at the face. Try and look at the person's eyes. And that will tell you a lot. I feel that connection that happens when you actually look at a person in the eyes, and that person also looks at your eyes, then a lot of things are communicated without saying anything. So that's one important thing I feel. We stop by just looking at the face of the child. Just go one step further and look at the eyes of the child. Focus on the eyes and see what you're feeling. And you will be able to catch a lot of things, I think, in that. And what I would like to tell children is that, you know, it's very important. You should never feel that I can't communicate something or I should not communicate this. It may be the worst thing on earth. It may be something that you're terribly frightened about. But you must have the trust and the faith in someone, even if it's sometimes it may not be a parent, it could be a teacher. Someone who you can reach out to when you're really troubled. When you're really troubled, you must reach out to someone, because it is so important. There are people who are dying to help you. There are people who will be happy to help you. If they slightly knew that you are in trouble, they would have loved to help you. But they need to know that. So as a child, I would tell children that don't hesitate to communicate. Sometimes I know it's very difficult to communicate what you're feeling. And you don't feel like communicating it. Sometimes it is there till here, but it doesn't come out. I know that. But trust in the person you're talking to. And reach out when you're having trouble. You know, reach out to someone who you trust and open up. Because that is the start of your journey for things to get better. That is the first step in that journey. If I'm troubled, I can be troubled all alone and I will not share it with anyone. But the moment I share it with someone, that is the start of the journey. Even I start understanding my problem better when I verbalize it. जब मैं अपने problem के बारे में बोलता हूँ और अपनी आवाज़ सुनता हूँ, when I hear myself speaking, when you share what is troubling you, it really gets you a lot of relief. Someone is listening to you. And that is the start of anything. So I would say that children who are having trouble, please express yourself. Please communicate. That's very important. There are people who are wanting to help you. Trust that. Trust that there are people who are wanting to help you.
I think
don't keep it to yourself. Express it. And to teachers and parents, I would say that, you know, sometimes children have a difficult time expressing it in words. So try and look beyond the curtain of the face and see the eyes. See, you will read a lot in that, I feel. And it's also when you connect with a child really well, then that child also starts getting the confidence in opening up to you. That's what I feel.
Yeah. And I think what you're talking about is also holding the space. Holding a non-critical, non-judgmental,
yeah,
loving,
very important.
compassionate space.
Yeah, I keep telling all my 3 children from the time they are born till today, from the time that they could understand what I was saying, I've always told them, Junaid, Aira and Azad, that if there is anything troubling you in your life, anything, it could be the worst thing, you may be imagining the worst thing on earth.
Yeah.
How do I tell this to Papa? You can tell me anything. And no matter what you tell me, I'll be there for you. No matter what you tell me, I'll be there for you. That is such an important communication for children, you know. I'm not going to judge you. You tell me what it is and I'll be there to, I'll be standing next to you. Now it will become our problem, not only yours.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Maybe one last question.
Okay.
Dr. Devika Chatterjee has joined us from JBCN School. Can we get Devika ma'am on? You know, we had like several hundred questions.
I want to tell you a story about this, you know. My mother grew up, so I'll tell you a little bit about my mother. When my mother was born, within the first 2 years of her birth, her mother passed away. Her father was deaf and dumb. mute and he couldn't hear and he couldn't speak. So my aunt brought her up, my father's sister. And she grew up with relatives because her father was living very far away. What then after partition became Pakistan. So that's why I'm talking of even before partition. So anyway, after partition and all of that, her cousins ended up in Karachi. You know, they used to all live in Bombay at one time. What was Mahim. So she used to live with her uncle who had 12 siblings. And of those 12 siblings, one of them was Konain Mamu. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Konain Mamu. So when Konain Mamu was one of the 12 brothers who couldn't keep a job, he could never hold on to a job, so he was jobless. His brothers looked after him. He was into horse racing. He was into gambling. He used to smoke. He used to also drink. I think so. So when at that time, I think it was in the 70s or 80s, late 70s, we got to know that some of Ammi's cousins are coming home to Mumbai for a visit. One of them was Konain Mamu. Now, Konain Mamu was someone who was considered by many in the family as a black sheep of the family because he couldn't earn money, Konain Mamu. So, as kids, we were kind of told, that's not what you want to become. So,
Stay away.
don't learn too much from Konain Mamu.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm telling you about Konain Mamu. This is something I learned at a very young age, 12, 14 years old I was. Konain Mamu was a great artist. If you sat in front of him, he could draw you. Hu bahu.
Acha.
With a pencil and a paper, he'll draw you. I don't know how many people can do that. And I'm saying he was bang on. He was a great singer. He could sing very well. He was a great dancer. He could dance very well. He was a very funny guy. He kept us in splits all the time. He was very entertaining. The kids always wanted to hang with Konain Mamu because he was fun.
Yeah.
All of these qualities I'm telling you, now I'm telling you one more quality. One day I was sitting on my dining table and really I couldn't get through. There was something called simultaneous equations. You're a maths teacher. So that simultaneous equations मेरे को समझ में पल्ले ही नहीं आ रहा था यार. और मैं सोच रहा था अभी कल मेरा यूनिट टेस्ट है 30 मार्क का यूनिट टेस्ट है एंड आई वाज नॉट वेरी गुड एकेडमिकली आई हैव टोल्ड यू तो आई वाज स्ट्रगलिंग अवे एंड ही कम्स एंड ही सेज क्या हुआ क्या कर रहे हो तो आई सेड नहीं कोनन मामू ये हमसे कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा है क्या है ऐसे साइमल्टेनियस इक्वेशन अच्छा बैठो हटो हम दिखाते हैं ही टोल्ड मी टू शिफ्ट sat next to me the person who was supposed to be the good for nothing and कि इसको कुछ आता नहीं है within half an hour he had explained to me simultaneous equations. Next day in the test I scored 30 on 30 and Miss Iyer who was a maths teacher when the results of the test came out she looked at my name and she saw 30 on 30 and she said did you cheat she's asking me she asked me did you cheat how come you got 30 on 30 I got 30 on 30 because of Konain Mamu.
Wow.
Now what happens is in our society we don't value people who actually ought to be valued. So he doesn't earn money. So what? He's got 10,000 amazing qualities about him. Why are we devaluing the man? I've learned so much from that person. And that at a very early age, I started realizing that, what is success? I'm taking exactly from where you went. What is success? Is it being the number one actor in the country? Is that success? Is it being the most, rich person in the country? Is that success? Is it the most famous person? Is it coming first in the class? Is it always winning? Is that success? I don't agree with that. I mean, that's not my point of view. My point of view is that if you're happy, you're successful.
Beautiful.
Are you happy? If you're happy, you're successful. And for that, we don't have to, climb Mount Everest. We don't have to become the biggest doctor on earth. We don't have to become a rocket scientist. We don't have to become the most famous actor in the country. For me, success lies in my ability to bring a smile on a person's face. That is success. When you meet me, I make you feel nice. That is success. So we have to, I completely agree with you, we have to redefine what is success. Because everyone's running after success. Unfortunately, in 3 Idiots, we've given a very big message. People have understood it but have not taken it on board yet.
Yeah.
Everyone is still chasing success. You know, we really have to let go of chasing success and chase happiness. And when I say chase, I don't mean in a bad way. We must understand and realize that actually being happy is so much more important than being successful. And actually that is successful when you're happy. You're happy in what you have, you're happy in what you can offer, you're happy in your relationships, you know. And if you're able to conduct a life where you're happy, yourself, internally, then that is successful. That's what I believe, and I really feel that we have to, on a public level, you know, maybe we can make a film on this. That gives me an idea. Yeah.
We'd love to make a film with all the educators involved, and you know, but
Yeah.
I know we are getting.
But cinema is a great medium, you know, to convey things, to communicate things on a large scale.
Yeah.
You know, cinema is a great medium to communicate concepts, thoughts, and which is why quite instinctively and quite organically, I've been doing it, you know, for the last so many years.
And purposefully.
Yeah, that's what I meant. What I meant is that, see, as a creator and as an entertainer, I'm fully aware that my fundamental responsibility is to entertain. When a person comes to a cinema hall, he or she has not come for a lesson in sociology. उसके लिए वो जाएगा कॉलेज.
बिल्कुल.
अगर सिनेमा हॉल में आया है तो उसको मस्ती चाहिए ना. He wants to have a good time. So my primary responsibility is to give people a good time.
Entertain.
I'm sharply aware of that.
Yeah.
But I'm also aware that, you know, as a creative person, if I so choose, there is a lot more that I can contribute. You know, I don't have to only make you laugh. I don't have to only give you a time. I can, of course, I'm trying to do that. But along with that, I can give you something to think about. And because of, so that quite naturally, it reflects in my work. You know, I get pulled towards films like Sitare Zameen Par or Rang De Basanti, which is saying something very important, or Lagan, or Sarfarosh, or you know, any of the 3 Idiots. These are films that are saying something very important, and naturally I get attracted to those, you know, those films. Yeah.
Beautiful. And I think
And
you are entertaining.
In fact,
and you
Sitare
are,
Zameen Par, this film, you know, my earlier film had not done well. Lal Singh Chadda. So everyone around me told me कि अभी आपको action film करनी चाहिए. अभी तो क्या है, after COVID, people want to see you in an action film, big screen action film. But the story had really got into my blood, yeah. So I'm not a very practical person.
do you think you try too hard? Like we teachers, sometimes we try too hard to kind of help or to convey something, to communicate. Is that
No, that doesn't happen to me.
okay?
That I flow with. But I'm just saying that, you know, at the end of the day, I think it's important for all of us to do what makes us happy. Because when you do what makes you happy,
Yeah.
then you do it well, you also have a good time.
So
So
as we
success really needs to be redefined. I agree with that.
So Aamir, as we wrap up, one final message to all the IC3 volunteers, counselors here, educators, on how we can bring this culture of care, of counseling, of, to the forefront of in our schools, in our universities, where we can ensure every student is actually feels supported, seen, heard, which is really the message from
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
saw with Sitare Zameen Par, it's adults, but you are the teacher.
I'm the teacher.
You are the coach.
Actually, I'm the immature one.
Yeah, but
in the film,
you eventually are also the student.
I also get taught correctly.
But what is it that you'd want to share as that final message, and then we'll end with that message from you.
I would say that, you know, as teachers or educators, one of the most important things, and I'm not a teacher and an educator, so I'm really not the right person to speak about this. But since you're asking me, I feel one of the things that is very important is care and sensitivity. But not just caring and sensitivity, but also joy. Joy is very important, you know. I can be very caring,
Yeah.
but I may bore the hell out of you. You know, that's not a very good quality also.
Yeah.
So I'm saying for children and for education, the ideal combination for a teacher is to be caring, sensitive, calm, but also full of fun.
Yeah.
Because when you're full of fun, then that gets, you know, that energy translates to everyone around you. And I think one of the most important things is to be, it has to start with yourself. Before I start figuring out how my students should be, first I have to figure out how I am. And if I am peaceful, if I am happy, if I am secure, and I am joyful, then if I am all of those things, then all of those things will automatically come out in my interaction with the children. So maybe one way to look at it is to look at inward. Look at yourself inward. If you are secure, if you are joyful, if you are caring enough, then all those things will automatically get translated. To because the best way to teach is by example. You know what you are and how you conduct yourself. So you know, it's a difficult field that you are in, and especially a country like India, which has got such a huge population, and it's a big challenge. I can understand that, but you know, my gratitude to all of you, and my best wishes to all of you, that, you know, this is a journey. This is a journey which is not going to end.
Yeah. And, you know, on all of our behalf, I just want to say thank you. Thank you not just for being who you are, and also for creating such meaningful stories and cinema for us. I think what you do touches lives deeply. And we're very grateful that you've taken this time.
Thank you.
We
Ganesh.
hope that you'd continue to interact, this group of people.
Yeah,
and
we
all
should have
around the
another
world.
session later, you know, maybe, you know what, maybe after they see the film, because then they would have seen the film, it will be fun.
Yeah, we can do
Yeah,
a
so
follow-up.
maybe a couple of months down the line,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
once everyone's had a chance to watch the film, then we can do another session.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you,
Thank you,
Aamir.
Ganesh. Thank you.
lovely, lovely. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Yeah. You offline, we can just then say hi to everybody here. Can you just unmute so that people who are on Zoom, because YouTube वालों को तो, yeah, are you offline?